Hello, listeners. This is Mindful Counseling, also known as GDS Counseling. Joanna here. It's been some time, I do have to tell you that, since I did my last recording. So I figured, why not? I have a few minutes in between of my work responsibilities that I can record something here. And I figured one of the topics that seem to come up quite often in my conversations with colleagues or just in general with people that I know and work with is the feeling of stagnation and not feeling motivated, determined, pursuing of some sort of a passion. And I do notice this more so with people who are overwhelmed by endless responsibilities, people who feel like they kind of slacked on their goals and certain things to achieve because life got in the way. And it kind of stops them and prevents them from wanting to achieve more, and whatever the more is, however we want to define it. So I figured why not to have a little conversation here and see where your thoughts go when it comes to feeling stagnant, not motivated, not determined. And one of the things to share with you is that you're not alone in this. Many people are feeling the stagnation. Maybe we'll add a little bit of the burnout feeling, whether it is women or men who have jobs or kids. What it kind of comes down to is just not feeling motivated that you want to go to the gym or lose weight or pursue a different job or make more money, learn a new hobby. There's something about not wanting to pursue. And maybe at some point in your life, you may have had these moments of pursuing things and feeling accomplished and recognized, maybe even validated, right? A lot of times we look for validations if we do struggle with receiving them on our own, our internal dialogue, right? So again, stagnation is not something that you alone are dealing with, because you are not alone. Many people find themselves stagnant. And I think for me, when I bring this up in a conversation, it is a topic that seems to be existing today. I'm not saying it never existed. I think it exists also in particular age groups that are just not moving forward to whatever it may be. Now, a lot of times, this is where coaching can help, life coaching. As a life coach, I've worked with many clients who wanted to pursue certain goals, and it's all about just finding ways to accomplish those goals. And of course, we have to be realistic with our goals. We can't accomplish something in, let's say, a 5-day span, especially if it's something huge. We have to be realistic with our goals and know exactly how long it might take us to accomplish them. And kind of draw a line to it as to when do we feel like we can accomplish these things. And also give ourselves sort of like a self-discipline of accomplishing these goals, accomplishing particular habits. Like I said earlier, whether it is looking for a job, whether it is making more money, whether it's picking up a sport, going to the gym, maybe even reading a book. Some people struggle even picking up a book and finishing up a book because whatever it is that comes in the way. And just to also let you know, sometimes we feel stagnant, and it's kind of like really, we cause it. We cause the stagnation in a lot of ways, right? Because we feel like something's not happening, so therefore, what's the point? Which seems to be a quote-unquote a very common response, like, what's the point? It's not going to get me anywhere, or, oh, I'm too old now. So I've heard a lot of different responses, and maybe in some ways I've used them myself too, when it comes to the feelings of stagnation. So again, this is just for you to sit with it. Ask yourself the questions where you are in your life. What is it that you feel like you're still missing? What is it that you feel like you still want to do, want to pursue? What do you think you would need in order to make some of this happen? And be in charge of your own self. Again, very good to work with a life coach, especially if your work companies provide such benefits. But if you don't have that, again, Google is a great resource. I like it, but I also try to say don't rely on it too much. But you can definitely print out great PDFs for yourself that talk about goals and ways that you can execute some of your own goals. You can take charge of your own motivations to prevent the feelings of stagnation. So again, just sit with it, see what your thoughts are. Have you felt like your goals are just not worth it, or you feel like you struggle with accomplishing certain things, or even maybe writing some of your goals down? Do you feel like maybe you just don't feel like doing anything because you've done a lot? Do you turn into wanting to sleep more, eating more, right? Because it's such a pleasure, right? So it's many people sometimes turn into eating because it's the quickest way to satisfy self, even though it's also masochistic in a lot of different ways. Gaming, mindless activities, right? Entertainment. Again, some of the stuff is great, but it's knowing how often you fall into those habits that prevent you from doing something else, especially if you feel like you should be doing something else, but you find ways to avoid it. And I think we can all relate to that, because I think we've all been in situations where we know we could be doing something or should be doing something, which sounds a little parental, but we know we also are avoiding it. And some of us are just great avoiders. It works for us, even though it's painful at the same time, right? If we feel like we have not received anything, kind of a goal accomplishing, right, in the last 3 months, okay, do I need to pursue something? What is it that I can do to make myself feel a little bit more motivated? So all of these things are a sense of stagnation, right? Not feeling happy. Maybe a little bit of that depression sort of sinking in because we feel like we're just struggling to receive something, or we're just not getting it. Promotions at work, job interviews, jobs in general, right? For people who are looking for jobs. So it's a lot of that inner work that sometimes we just need to do in order to feel successful. And the other part of it too is for the small little things that you do, give yourself a pat on the back. Give yourself a little bit of the acknowledgement that you have done something. You may have not done 5 different things, but you have done something for your own self-exploration, for your own self-achievement, for your own success, right? This goes into what inspires you, what had or has inspired you in the past. What are some of the things that you would want to be inspired about today? This goes back into setting goals. Is it to learn a new sport? Is it to step outdoors? Is it to take maybe a different approach to life? Doing something different. Doing something different does not necessarily mean it's bad. It's anxiety-provoking for some, but it does not necessarily mean it's a bad thing. The other part of it that falls into stagnation is when you're constantly on a go, and you have all of these responsibilities, and yet you feel like there's just no time to do something else. Take a break. Give yourself a break. Ask yourself the question, when was the last time that you took a real break for yourself? Was it last week? Was it a month ago? Was it 6 months ago? Was it a year ago? And whatever that break looks like. For me, just recently, I actually took a break, and it felt so amazing. Again, I have not done this in a very long time, so I am very aware of how good it felt taking it, is stepping away for 24 hours to go into a spa and relax for a whole 24 hours. Now, again, I was not up for 24 hours, but it was so great waking up in a bed, not needing to be woken up by a child or by whatever the responsibilities might be. And I was able to sleep in, and it felt amazing. It felt amazing to know that I was able to sleep in, that I was able to just stay in bed for a while, watch a show or a movie, whatever it was that I was watching, and actually enjoy it. Now, it is hard. I know some of you must might hear this and say, oh, well, when am I going to do this? I don't have time for this, or my partner does not support me, or my children need me. Yes, all of this is true. That's why it's so important to check in with yourself and where and what is it that you would give yourself that would give you that moment of that break, to relax a little bit, to acknowledge, oh, this was so great. This can push me forward, right? We all need it. We're human beings. We work, we do things. We are responsible human beings. At least I would like to think that most of us are. But we also have to acknowledge what our own self-care looks like, right? So that is so important. If we do not acknowledge what our self-care looks like and what we need for ourselves, our bodies, our brain, our mind, right? The nutrition side of us, then how can we continue to push forward, to move forward? How can we even find ways to motivate ourselves, right? If we don't recognize our own needs first. Again, this goes back into what would motivate you. Do something different. Shake up your routine, right? Shaking up your routine means instead of waking up in the morning, maybe first thing to do is, I don't know, you make yourself coffee. Maybe get dressed first or hop in the shower. All of these things, we also have to understand that we have habits, and as human beings, right, as adults, we have responsibilities. I go back to the responsibilities because our responsibilities become our habits, right? So it is something that we fall into, whether it's our jobs, whether it's our roles, whether it's the endless emails, whether it's the endless tasks that we continue to need to do. And they are habits. So, of course, naturally, realistically looking at it, to break a habit is difficult. Now, I'm not saying break a habit, especially when things are extremely important for you. What I'm talking about is learn to address where is it that you can address your own care. What is it that would motivate you? With a 30-minute, or let's just even go as little as maybe 10 minutes at work, do a little exercise, whether it's sit-ups or weightlifting, something in your space of comfort that you can add something in that can feel good, regardless of how silly it might look, regardless if there's people around. This is for you. And you'd be surprised how amazing it is when you do something different and people see you doing something different and the way they might actually respond to it in a sense of wanting to do it too, right? Think about it. If one person does it, usually other people follow. And normally we struggle as the first ones to pursue something because we feel like we should not, or we don't have time, or because somebody else is not going to accept it or like it. Again, we are creatures of habit. So the other part of it too is we observe. If we see other people do it, a lot of times we want to do it too. That's another thing to just kind of sit with it and observe it and see how you feel about it. When you go for a walk, go to a park, for example, observe what people are doing in a park. Are they jogging? Are they walking? Are they talking? Are they smiling? Are they sitting on a bench? And see if there's things that you might want to almost mimic, but to see what it feels like for you to do something different. Right? Are those things that you might need to motivate yourself to set goals? This is the part of taking a small step, right? Before kind of pursuing all the bigger steps. So what is it that would make you feel less stagnant, right? When it comes to your job, when it comes to maybe your job. What is it that you feel like you need from your job that would push you forward, that would move you forward? Is it talking to your bosses? Is it talking to colleagues, right? Forming a community circle of what do your colleagues do? What pushes them forward? Ask these questions. A lot of times we feel like we're stagnant and we just kind of get consumed in our own heads by being stagnant, right? Versus the ability to speak it. When we speak it, we can relate. When we speak, we can not only relate, but we can also find other ways of doing things, right? This is the part of how important setting a goal for yourself is, whether it is something that you feel like you want to accomplish just this week alone. Granted, we are in the middle of the week. I know when I'm recording this episode. What is it that you can give yourself, at least for this week, that you can say, oh, wow, I accomplished it. This may not have necessarily been my goal, but I made it my goal and I was able to get it done, right? Again, whether it's reading a book, whether it is just reading 2 pages. Again, give yourself the ability to credit yourself that you were able to read those 2 pages. Some of us have big struggles, right, when it comes to some of these accomplishments. Just because somebody is able to read a chapter or 5 chapters in a span of 30 minutes, it does not necessarily mean that you can do it. What I'm saying is, and I can definitely talk quite a bit about this without taking a break, is that you also have to learn to be kind to yourself as to what you're able to accomplish, right? We kind of sometimes put this unrealistic expectation on ourselves that we have to do certain things or we have to do it, in a span of however many hours or days because somebody else is doing the same. We're different. And that's the other part that as human beings we have to recognize is that each one of us is different. And only we, and this is the harder part, can recognize what works for us and how we learn, how we set up goals. I, for myself, am a very visual person. So if I don't write things down, if I don't see things, then I almost feel like they don't exist, right? So for me, I'm a very visual person. I need to see in order to remember. I need to see in order to recognize, to cross things over. Some people need just like reminders on their phones. Again, everybody does these things differently. We all learn differently. This all goes back into what I'm trying to really kind of conclude and summarize in this episode is what would help you feel less stagnant, right? The one part of it is taking a break. Now, if you feel like you're constantly taking a break, then obviously you're avoiding something, right? Because you're tired or you're eating or you just don't want to do anything. Again, the other part of it too, and I am so aware of it too, that's why I'll throw it in there, is make sure that you follow up with your doctor's appointments, right? Make sure that there's nothing medical going on that might prevent you from certain things. The other part of it too, recognizing, okay, am I avoiding this? I want goals. I want to be successful, whatever that even means, right? Your own definition of success. And what is it that I can do to make it work? What is it that I can give myself that can feel successful? Small steps followed by bigger steps. You have to learn to develop a habit, right? At some point, you obviously made yourself do the things that you do, right? You got a job, you formed a family, you have children, you're running around, you have all these different responsibilities. Even a task of brushing your teeth, yes, as silly as it sounds, is something, right? Because it's you taking care of yourself. So obviously in your entire lifespan, you can see the things that you were able to do and accomplish. Granted, maybe given your age, you have a lot more of these things, or less, who knows? What is it that you can give yourself to make you feel less stuck and more motivated? Give it a try just by listening to this. What is it that you can give yourself today or tomorrow? What kind of a goal do you want to put down on a paper and say to yourself, I am going to get this done. And I know I have all of these tasks to do and whatever jobs or responsibilities, children, families, that I can commit to this 5 or 10 minutes a day, whatever it may be, that I can accomplish this. And so again, just sit with it and address what is it that you can give to yourself that can feel less stagnant. I hope you found this episode helpful, maybe successful in some different ways. Again, this is Joanna from Mindful Counseling here on Podbean, but you can listen to me obviously on many different platforms. You can also find ways to connect with me to see what other topics you would like to, or you would like for me to bring to the table, right? What is something that interests you and you would like to know more about? Until next time, take care.